Greetings and welcome to the April 2024 edition of the Presale Pulse Trending Topic, bringing you the latest insights into the most talked about topics happening now in real estate. I'm Suzana Goncalves.
And I'm Brittany Reimer, and today we are excited to welcome a special guest, MLA Canada's very own EVP of Sales and Marketing, Shayna Macquisten. With over 15 years of experience in the real estate industry, Shayna has been a powerhouse within MLA Canada, championing the client experience and just a knowledge bank of market insights and dynamics. We're so happy to have you, Shayna, with us today for the first time on The Pulse.
Thank you so much for having me. It is my first time. You guys have been at it for a few years now, and I've been dodging you, so I'll try to keep up today. Nonetheless, very excited to be here and to dive into the challenging topic of Canadian government policies. Nothing like breaking the ice with policy discussion. Yeah, welcome. We give you a soft lob here today.
Thank you. We saved this topic specifically for you, Shay, but if there was ever somebody who could eloquently share some insights on this very tricky topic, we knew that you would be the one.
So all jokes aside, I am excited to get your opinion on this topic. The federal government announced on March 21st that they will be introducing targets on the intake of temporary residents into Canada for the first time. Now, on top of that, the new immigration target for 2026 was flat from the previous year, ending the recent pattern of increasing targets every year.
That's right, Suze. Over the next 3 years, Canada will be reducing the number of temporary residents that are permitted into the country, alongside other shifts that will be happening as well. Now, we wanted to take a look at these policy changes and particularly what that means for the rental world. There's a strong relationship, as we know, between rental rates and population growth, especially with the new population coming into the country. So this is an important headline for us to be examining at this point in time.
Now, before we get too far, let's first put this all into context. In 2015, the annual immigration target was just over 280,000. By 21, this had increased to 315,000. Now, the newest targets have us shooting for 500,000 in 2025. Now, at the same time, there are about additional 2.5 million temporary residents in Canada, which encompasses about 6.2% of the total population. Yeah, and I'll add, Suzana, as well. I mean, there's been a significant amount of concern recently about these numbers due to rental unaffordability. However, up until and at the time of this announcement, the numbers were largely being celebrated. Canada has long leaned on immigration as a pillar of the country's success. New immigrants, of course, add to our talent pool, shore up labor. I mean, these are important areas to add diversity and skill set into our marketplace. Another component to be considered as well is birth rates. In Canada, we don't have a positive contribution to birth rates right now to get us the growth that we really need. So historically, of course, pro-immigration we've always been in order to fuel that growth. But simply put, immigration targets have to continue to increase if we want to maintain growth. Yeah, it's certainly been the fuel to our economy and our GDP numbers, given the decline in productivity as well. Now, particularly so for an industry like ours, immigration is akin to importing demand, and that's powerful for driving prosperity. Now, as interest rates have skyrocketed and affordability has come to the forefront, attitudes have somewhat shifted. For example, as we touched on earlier, the government has expressed a desire to decrease the number of temporary residences from 6.2% of the population down to 5%.
Yeah, and earlier this year, Canada also implemented a 2-year cap for international students and tightened eligibility criteria for work permits for postgraduates and their spouses. Additionally, the government opted against raising the target for permanent residents from 2026 onwards. And finally, the employment minister announced that Canada will reduce its dependency on foreign workers by scaling back temporary measures implemented back in 2022.
It's a tricky balance. I mean, I can understand the rationale behind the proposed changes, but concerns surrounding the cost of living here in Canada through our housing crisis are pressing issues, as we all know, and especially in Metro Vancouver. Finding and securing housing that's viable is very, very challenging. Vacancy rates across the country are at extreme lows, and that really makes that rental market highly competitive, as we know. There's been really an accelerated speed on rental rates that are outpacing growth. CMHC recently put out a report just sharing the average annual rent growth through Metro Vancouver, 9.5% for this year. That's an appreciation jump of 7 to 8%. Burnaby, Coquitlam, these are great examples with annual rates shifting from 10.7 and 12.7% respectively in areas that we already have very high costs for shelter. Yeah, and the rental market can be impacted by so many elements. When the house ownership market is depressed like it is right now, people can't purchase due to high mortgage rates, they turn to rental. In fact, I literally read an article this morning from Bloomberg that 76% of housing non-owners believe that entry to the housing market is out of reach, and this is driven by pricing, aka lack of affordability, as well as the inability to save for the necessary down payment. Therefore, would-be homeowners instead find themselves renting, driving down supply and driving up rates. This is what we're seeing in the market right now, of course, adding to the issue.
Yeah, it certainly is a problem, Suze, and things like implementation population caps will certainly at least somewhat alleviate the strain on the housing market. But looking towards immigration to solely address rental affordability is just missing the larger picture, as we know, I think. The problem isn't just immigration, it's that we need to be complementary to policies to be put in place to support these new arrivals. I'll put it another way. Housing is not the only sector that feels strained when there is a high immigration. City infrastructure, healthcare, the budgetary spending, these are all things that need to anticipate immigration policy and move in with the same direction with it, or else problems start to really appear.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, we can and we should welcome the population growth, but it needs to come with that proportional supportive policy. If we were to stop the conversation at immigration, I mean, we all know it would be a Band-Aid fix, if anything. Reducing immigration levels back towards previous norms just takes us right back to where we were in the first place. I mean, we had a rental affordability crisis long before our immigration numbers got to where they are today.
Yeah, and just a question for the group, where have we been seeing that support from levels of government, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, certainly more than we ever have before, right? Every policy comes with its own challenges and issues, but I would say there's been more alignment, or at least communication, over the past year than I think we've ever had in the past. Now I'm thinking of a number of policy changes from all levels of government aimed at increasing rental supply. Take the removal of GST costs for purpose-built rental developments, for example. With one change, many rental buildings that didn't pencil because the math did not quite work out will now go forward. CMHC financing support programs have also been the difference between rental projects moving forward versus being shelved. And we can do a lot more still, of course. Things like streamlining the approval process, revisiting zoning to allow higher density development, re-examining some of these step code changes, and looking at other areas of taxes, fees, and other barriers to development, and making sure they are in alignment with Canada's rental stock goals are still, I think, opportunities for us.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah, I mean, great suggestions. I'll say that on a more positive note, the number of rental starts has actually continuously picked up. It's been substantial in the last few years. Across 6 major markets in Canada, including Vancouver, Toronto, Calgary, we've all seen a percentage share of rental starts reach historic highs for 2023. Vancouver specifically, we saw a jump from 7% in 2010 to 38% of all housing starts for 2022.
Yeah, that's all positive, yet at the same time, it has not stopped the appreciation rates that we were mentioning earlier. We need to go a bit further on this. One issue that although there is more purpose-built rental coming to market than ever before, these are brand new, often well-amenitized modern rentals with top-of-the-market rents. These are not the homes that someone already struggling with rents are going to be taking on, quite frankly, because of cost.
Yeah, I do wonder how much of that 7% to 38% jump is also due to the lack of housing starts on the market side. And as we know, the market side also plays a big part in providing rental homes as well. Towers take anywhere from 3 to 6 years to get through the planning and construction process before anyone gets a set of keys. And as we know, starts are down overall. So all of this certainly makes me think of the long-term nature of the problem we're in. Even with a government alignment in the right direction, it will literally take years for the effects to trickle through and bring down these rental rates.
That's all to say that the rental demand is not going anywhere anytime soon. Even with the slightest relaxation of immigration targets and an increasing supply, with the dynamics we've talked about today, all signs point to the need and the opportunity in rental development being abundant.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely right. Thank you so much for joining us, Shayna. That officially wraps up this episode of the Presale Pulse Trending Topic. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and Newswire, our daily email roundup, providing you with the latest real estate news. We want you to stay informed and real estate intelligent. We look forward to seeing you next month.
No more dodging. We'll see.
Thanks, Britt.
Thanks, Suze.